Now I should keep looking at that. Her back. Whatever.
All right. My name is Carrie DuVall. The date is April 12th, 2024, and the time is 3:33 p.m. We are here at the Pewaukee VFW 9537, post 9537. I am interviewing Jim Dresdow, who was born on September 12th, 1934 in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and served during the Korean War era between 1952 and 1956. Jim Dresdow was an Airman First Class in the Air Force and served by overseeing hotel management for R&R in Tokyo. This interview is being sponsored by Bell Tower Memorial. All right, so let's begin with what were you doing before you entered the service?
Going to high school. I enlisted right out of high school.
Why did you choose to enlist?
I wasn't ready to go to work yet. My college wasn't available to me, so myself and one of my best friends, we decided to enlist.
Who was your friend? What was his name?
His name was Harold Crook, and he was a car salesman eventually, but he didn't work either. So,
how did your family feel about you enlisting so young?
I came from a family where the boys, as soon as they were 17, all enlisted. There was 4 of us at 17. So it was just a hi, goodbye, going to basic training.
Well, speaking of basic training, could you tell me about your early weeks of training and how you adapted to military life?
Well, we went to San Antonio, Texas for basic training. Like anybody else, I would just as soon have gone home the second day because it was terrible, at first. But you learn that all the guys are fun to be with, and we all have one common person that we rally against, and that's the drill instructor.
Oh, well, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You said that it was terrible at first. Could you elaborate on that?
You're homesick, especially if you had a girlfriend, and most of the guys did.
Did you?
Yes, I did. She ended up marrying a doctor.
Oh, wow. Okay, and then, so you said your training took place in San Antonio. Yeah. Was that the only place that you did your training?
Basically, I lost contact with all the people that I went through basic training with, because just at the end of basic training, about a week before, somebody stole my wallet, and I reported it. And when they came out with the orders, they redlined me and let everybody else go.
Oh, wow.
Well, that was wrong, because anybody that stole it was gone. And I don't know why they redlined me, but they did. So I was all alone, and I finally got sent to Mississippi for radio school or something. And I didn't like that, and I got out of that. And then I went to Hunter Air Force Base in Savannah, Georgia.
What did your training consist of in Hunter Air Force Base?
Because I had a commercial background in high school, I took typing, I took bookkeeping, I even took cooking.
Oh.
And that worked well for me, because they assigned me right away to a job that we processed people that were being discharged, and also right at the war ended, while we were there. So they started letting everybody out. People that were only in 2 or 3 months could get out. So we were flooded. And that's what I did for a year, almost a year.
Wow. So then after that, did you receive your assignment, or did you do something in between then?
No, I went straight to Japan. That was my assignment. I was assigned to the Air Force headquarters in Tokyo. I could have gone to Korea, but luckily I didn't.
Yeah. So then how did you get to Japan?
On a boat, a big boat. That one.
Nice. Very big boat.
And the conditions were not very good.
Turn a little bit more towards the camera. There you go. There you go.
The conditions were not very good on the boat. The food was excellent, but the accommodations for sleeping, I think we were 6 high. And so you'd go to your cot to go to sleep. The guy's rump would be that close to your nose. So it was not good. And then there were people throwing up all over the place because they were seasick.
Did you get seasick at all?
No.
That's good.
I didn't eat the chili that they served us when we got on the boat. It took 14 days to get to Yokohama. And that was my first experience of seeing anything that was, bombed out and still not taken care of. So everything was flat. And we went to a bar the first night we were there because we didn't have anything else to do. I could mention, I didn't tell you this before in the interview. That was my first experience. I was going to the bathroom in the bar, and all of a sudden some girls came in and they started going to the bathroom. And they were combing their hair while I was going to the bathroom. And I was shocked at that. But that was their life.
Yeah.
That was how it was.
Did you experience any other culture shock like that?
That was the biggest one. There were other where they would, if they were walking down the street and they had to go, they'd stop and go. That was culture shock also.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, so now let's talk about what you did in Japan. So what were you assigned to do?
Well, the first time I was assigned to the post office, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be a postman, so I went and found out the people that were giving the assignments. And I talked to this master sergeant and asked him what I could do about getting out of that. And he says, we do have some jobs up here on the board. He says, you see anything you might like? I said, no, how would I know? So he says, well, here's one, go to the Army. He says, you go over there and work for them. And I said, what's that for? He says, oh, hotels. He says, I don't know what they do. He says, we can never get anybody to go there. So I said, okay, I'll take that. So I went and interviewed at Camp Sama, and they were so happy to get a high school graduate that they took me right away. And so I went to work in a hotel.
Nice. So you said you were chosen because you had finished high school. Was there anything else that?
No, and then I had bookkeeping background and typing and such. They didn't have any idea what the job consisted of. The Army did, but the Air Force didn't.
Okay. I was like, the Army doesn't know?
Yeah, no, the Army did. So I went and I got assigned to the largest R&R hotel in Tokyo, in Japan.
How did you like working there?
Loved it. I was there were 7 of us. Most of it was devoted to food, but I had the Army office in charge. And I had to inventory all the bars. We had 4 bars, ballroom, lounge, what people do. And Then I had the responsibility of the Army office, in which there was about 6 accountants there that did all the bookkeeping work. Japanese. They were Japanese people. And then there was a manager, a Japanese manager, and then I was over him. And he would get everything together on the daily report, count all the money, and then my job was to count the money too, make sure it was all there. And then we'd give it to the one time it was a colonel, the other time it was a major. The people come and go, and then they'd turn it over to the Japanese. We rented the hotel from the Japanese, and we gave them all everything that was all the revenue. It was a good thing to do.
So you were interacting with Japanese employees on a regular basis.
Yes.
Did you need interpreters, or how did that work?
No, there was 2 Japanese people that were nieces. That's somebody that was born or whatever they were. Anyway, but they were in the United States. And this one man and a lady. And they got caught in the war. They were there on December 7th in Japan, and they could never get out. So they stayed there, and of course they lost everything that they had earned in the United States. I don't know whether they were, I think they were citizens, but they couldn't go back. So they spoke perfect English, you know. That was my go-between.
Okay.
And a lot of some young people, the young girls, they spoke English a lot.
That's good. Okay. So could you walk me through like an average day at the hotel, like what you would do every day?
Okay, the average day would be I would get up, shower, and go down for breakfast right away. And then we'd lounge around there for a while. Then I'd go to the office, and these people would have all the paperwork done, you know, all the bookkeepers, accountants, whatever you want to call them. And then I would check everything out, see that everything matched, and then I would turn it into the officer in charge. He had the office right next door. That would be that. You know, it was simple. And then other things were like I'd have to inventory the bars, and make sure that all the money was accounted for, and the bottles, nobody stole any, things like that. And we sold a lot of booze, so it was a good job. And then of course we'd walk around the hotel, and as the people would come in, they'd want to know something about the surrounding area. And we'd tell them that there were girls out there in the bars, so you could go at night, meet them, and bring them back to the hotel so they could dance in the ballroom, which GIs love to dance, and so did the girls. And they would all eat and drink in that, and then at the end of the night they would play Good Night, Sweetheart, and take off, close up. But it would be a long day many times, because somebody would have to sit, or at least, yeah, I would sit in the ballroom, watch the floor show, and wait for the thing to close up. Somebody always had to be available. But that was hard.
Did you go to the ballroom often?
To the what?
The ballroom for the dancing and stuff. Did you go there often?
No, I didn't. I went to the bar room every night, almost, at some point. And then if I was working, I had to stay there till it closed. But if I wasn't working, I'd just go to bed.
How long would you say your average workday was?
It would be 8 to 14 hours a day, depending on. Most of it was just a 6-8 hour day. You know.
That's nice. Okay, so are there any events or people that stand out to you from your time working there that you want to tell me about?
Oh, I had one good friend. His name was Joe Caprio. He was from Chicago, and he was an MC for our floor shows. He was a corporal in the Army, and we were good friends because we were the same age. And he was really good. He was an MC and he sang songs, and then he would pick up American songs and add Japanese words to it, just a few, so that everybody would understand them. And he did things that were really good, and then he would interview people to entertain too, the Japanese people. One guy, I don't know why I want to tell you this, but there was one guy that he was an old man, and his only thing that he did, the only trick he did was he would set up some stairs, about 6 stairs. Then he'd put himself in a reverse somersault like and stand on his head. And he would go up the steps on his head. It was foolish.
My
But he did
gosh.
it.
Seems like it would be really hard.
Yeah. And then when Joe went, had to go home, his time was up, we didn't have a replacement. So the officer in charge said that I had to do it. And I said, well, I don't do that very well. I don't talk in front of people. And he says, well, you got to do it till we get a new guy. So I would go in the back, in the stage, behind the stage, and I'd drink about 3 shots of whiskey. And I didn't even like whiskey, but that gave me the strength to go ahead and do it. It was terrible. I tried to tell a joke one night and nobody laughed.
Oh no. Oh, that's the worst feeling. So I'm guessing you didn't have to stand on your head though?
No, no, ma'am.
Okay. So speaking of people that you met there, do you want to tell me about how you got these 2 things right here?
Oh, yes, I would do, because it was something really nice that for some reason, I kept it all these years. I had 2 girls that worked for me to clean my room and take care of the laundry and everything. And it was my birthday, so they gave me this card
I'm
and
going to
this
show it to the camera a little bit.
and this silver-plated cigarette lighter. It doesn't work, but that's because it ran out of a flint. So anyway, it's beautiful, and I'm sure they paid something they couldn't afford for it. It was, they didn't have that much money. But we had all these shops in the hotel, so they probably worked out a deal. Anyway, they said, Airman Second Class Dresdow, it's a pleasure to wish it for, happy birthday. It's a pleasure to wish it for someone like you. A wonderful birthday, a happy year too. And it says from 2 girls. I treasured that for some reason.
That's
I don't
so
know why,
nice.
but it's about the only thing anybody ever gave me with what I didn't expect.
So you mentioned they clean your room. Did you live in the hotel?
Yeah, we lived in the hotel. At one time we had a 3-room apartment, and other times we would just, depending on who was working and who had to go home and stuff. And then if I'd end up alone, and I'd have just a room by myself. But it was nice.
Did you generally have roommates, or were you usually alone?
No, we generally were alone. But I talked about the apartment because that was really nice to have a nice big place. If you were an enlisted man and you had your wife with you, then you really got a nice place in a hotel to live. Plus you'd have somebody babysit your kids. It was kind of nice for them.
Yeah, so the Gajoin Hotel is currently a very luxurious hotel in Japan. Was it very luxurious back then?
Not really, no. I mean, it was compared to the 50s, it was, but it was probably a part of Japan where they didn't bomb, more than likely, because the building had been around a long time. There was two parts to the hotel. There was we were up on the hill, and ours was the biggest hotel. And then down below there was an old Japanese part of the hotel that they kept for themselves. They didn't want us to be down there, and we didn't. And it was a great place because it had good food, and sumo wrestlers would come in there to eat. And these guys were huge, and we had about a 6-acre garden in the back, and we would walk back there all the time and just enjoy looking at the carp. They had carp, the colored fish, and it was just beautiful. I wish I had taken more pictures. I didn't, though. I did go with, I did have a friend that I hung around with, and he took a lot of pictures for me because he worked with the Stars and Stripes and stuff, and he had all the cameras, every kind of camera you'd think of.
Do you want to show us some of his pictures right now?
Well, I could show you this one. This is more Japanese people. This is just a house, an entrance to a house. There's a famous, I think it's a road, the Ginza down in Tokyo. If you ever talk to anybody from Tokyo, they would say, "Oh yeah, Ginza." Well, these places were on the Ginza. It was right in the heart of Tokyo. This is a circular theater, I think. I'm not sure. I don't remember anymore. But
that's what you told me last time. That's a theater, so.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And this is a department store, just like home. These are guys that are fishermen, I guess. Another boat. Oh, and this is the guy I was talking about. He's the cameraman, and he'd set it up. He could even set it up so he'd be in the pictures if he wanted to be. I guess anybody can do that, but I couldn't. And this is a butcher shop.
Oh yeah,
they do it right out in the open. This is World War II veterans from the war. Japanese, of course, they had to beg for stuff, beg for food. Just another pictures of people living. This guy was advertising, like years ago they used to give out cigarettes on the streets and all that. Well, he did stuff like that. I don't know why they had to be half naked to do it, but especially a guy.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And then this is a girl and her mother, I guess, walking down the street. This is a student boy. They all wore uniforms, every school. And this is a girl with her uniform on and her mother with the old kimono on. West, the new West. That's a garden. I don't know where that came from. That's a camel.
Yeah, I don't think they're native to Japan, so.
No, I don't either. And I think that's all. I started scrapbooks and then I didn't finish them. But that was something to remember.
Yeah. So speaking of clothing, did you have to wear a uniform at the hotel?
When we were on duty, we should have, yeah. And so at night, we'd definitely wear a uniform because you'd have to take care of trouble, problems. We didn't have many, but you'd have them once in a while.
What kind of problems? Like customer service or?
Well, like if you had a Navy guy in there, he might be chasing one of the maids down the hall with nothing on except a wrap over him. I say Navy because when they get off a boat, they would always want to do something, be reckless. The Air Force and Army were pretty docile. They didn't do that. Marines, we didn't have many. Not many Marines.
So, would you like to talk about the kimono that you have?
Oh, this is this one Japanese guy that I worked with. He wanted to make me a kimono. He says that his aunt would do it, and I said, well, that would be nice. So he came with some string. He cut string for my shoulders, my arms, and whatever else he did, I don't remember. And he just took that home to her, and she sewed it up, and he brought it in, and it fit perfect. And I always wore it. It's all old and beat up now, but I kept it.
I don't know much about Japanese culture, but when typically would you wear something like that?
Men wore mostly at home, I think, and I wore mine when I was in my room, and I used it a lot. My kids used it later on for in trick or treat.
Oh, that's a very nice Halloween costume. Okay, so now I want to talk more about the war and the military service back when you were in Japan. So while you were stationed in Tokyo, what did you hear about the war in Korea?
Well, see, that's what I think I tried to allude to. The war ended in '53. It was on June 15th, 1950 to June 15th, 1953, just about. I didn't get over there till March of '54.
Oh.
So it was all over, but they still had a huge amount of troops in Korea, and those guys were the ones that were coming home on coming over on R&R. Yeah, they had probably 100,000 troops over there. So I didn't have anything to do with the war and didn't know much about it. My brother, in the meanwhile, he enlisted on June the day before the war. He didn't know that, of course, and he got out just as the war ended. So he was in for just 3 years, and it was all just for that. And he did see action. He made his rank really fast too. But what?
It's okay, keep going.
Yeah, I have another brother who also served in Korea. He served about three separate times there, and he served also in the Vietnam War. The other brother, he stayed in the Army for 35 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
And the other brother was in World War II. He was at Guadalcanal and Iwo Jima, and a couple places. You couldn't go to too many because you'd have to go back and recuperate.
So speaking of R&R, could you describe what services that the hotel provided in regards to R&R?
Basically, room and board. That was really it. But of course, we had the advantage of they could eat. They didn't have to go to our dining room if they didn't want to. They could go someplace else, but they could. It was always cheap. And they could get a drink really cheap, and that's what they liked. And of course the dancing. They always liked the dancing and the entertainment. And of course, like I say, they would ask us where to go and what to see and what to do. The biggest thing to see down there was the royal grounds, if you could just peek in. I don't remember whether Americans could go in there or not. I know the Japanese went in there. The royal family had a big chunk of the prime land in Tokyo, and it was all theirs. It was all walled in. Nobody could get in there without permission. But that's the extent of our service that we did, you know. We had slot machines in the hotel, which was always fun to play, but people wouldn't play it much. But also while I was there, we had what they call a currency exchange. We were paid in what they call military script, and then the citizens of Japan would get hold of this script and they'd use it too. And so what the army would do, they brought out new script, all different colors and everything else. A dollar bill might have been blue, and then they changed it to orange. And so we had to change everybody's money all in one night.
Oh wow!
And we did. The whole country. And then you'd have cab drivers come up to you and say, "I got $100 worth of this. Would you give me something for it? 50%?" There were people that worked it. It was the black market, really. I never went through anything like that before.
Okay, so did you ever get to travel outside of Japan while you were there?
No. I had an opportunity to go to Korea once to tell the GIs about the hotel, and I said I didn't want to do that. I was content where I was.
Did you go sightseeing around Japan at all, or did you just stay at the hotel?
I went and saw a lot of it, but being young, I wasn't so concerned. You know, I saw Buddha, went to up in the mountains to a hotel, one of our hotels. Went down south to the beaches in another one of our hotels. But other than that, I didn't really. I would have done more if I would have been more aware. But at 18, 19, you don't care about that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I would, but. Okay, so is there anything else that you'd like to share with me about your time in Japan?
One thing we did with all the employees is we would play baseball. They love baseball in Japan. So we would get up a team of Army guys, and then we'd play the employees. It was a lot of fun. And then we'd have a picnic and eat and drink after the game. We played tennis. We joined a tennis club. There was an international tennis club there. Oh. All these traders, civilians. So we thought, well, we got time on our hands, so four of us joined it. And we beat them pretty easily, and because they were always doing it, they were trying to do it like a pro. You look good. Well, we didn't look good, but we played to win. It was really amazing. Then I went to horse races. I I bet quite a bit of money on one horse. It was an Arabian horse. It was uh, went to it was stake race. Two Japanese horses, thoroughbreds, raced against this one Arabian horse. I thought the Arabian horse would win.
No.
Didn't.
Oh, too bad.
Didn't do it. But that was fun too.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. What was your favorite activity like that to do?
Well, we went to a few baseball games too, Japanese baseball games. And at the end of the game, because you'd go in there and you'd get a seat with a, one of those movable seats that you just sit on for a practice seat. Anyway, we would sit and watch the game. And then at the end of the game, with maybe 30,000 people there, they'd all throw those things on the field. Really looked funny, really neat. But that was their custom. That was when we got all of the seats down there. And that was it. And then we went home. Are we?
Yeah, we're at that point. Yeah.
Right. When we went home, we went on an airplane. I think it was a 4-engine job. They didn't have jets yet. That was another thing. When I got to, they flew us first to Hawaii.
Oh.
And then for a layover, and I got redlined there too. Some colonel bumped me because he wanted the seat to go home. So he left, and I sat there. And I sat there for 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
I was stuck in Hawaii. Finally, I went to the office again, and I says, I've been here 2 weeks. When am I going to get home? And they sent me home right away. Then I guess they lost track of me.
Oh. Did you at least get to explore Hawaii a little
bit?
Oh
yes. That was worthwhile. I didn't mind being redlined there.
Oh yeah, there are way worse places to be trapped.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when you returned home from Japan, where did you go? Like, where did you return to?
To Arizona, Davis Monthan Air Force Base. That was a SAC base where they had bombers there. And then I worked in the flight office. And all that was doing was keeping track of the where they were going to make a fake bombing run. They'd fly all over the United States, say, well, we're going to bomb Milwaukee today, and fly up there and do it. And we'd keep track of their flight records so that the pilot would get paid for his flight. And then they tried to get me to re-enlist like they do with most people, They said, well, will you get another stripe? I said, I don't want another stripe. I want to go home. So I just stuck around till it was time. Down there, I also had to guard prisoners for, I'd have to go to the guard house or whatever and get the prisoners, and then we'd walk out, and they would keep the whole base clean, picking up all trash if there was any. And I didn't have a gun. They wouldn't give you a gun. But they were good. They were good prisoners.
How long did you spend doing that?
That wasn't long. I only did it a couple times. But it was just, they didn't have anything for me to do.
Okay, so then what was it like for you to return to civilian life after the military?
That was a little different. That was all my friends, of course, that I had were pretty much gone. You know, they had a lot of them went to college and they got married and lived in the different cities and so forth. And so I started hanging around with other people that I knew, but they were older, a little older, because they had been in and out of the service and hung around Waukesha taverns. And then I decided I had to get a job. So I went to work.
What did you do for work?
Like the gentleman before, I went to an insurance company
Oh,
and I took a job as a claims examiner. But I liked it because that wasn't, there was no hard work to it. You know, it's all office. That was better for me. And then the guy that was running the IBM department, they called it, he quit, went someplace else. So they gave me that job. And I was tied to computers for 25 years. I hated it because it was punch cards at first, but then the computers came along and it was a new world. And when the PCs came out, I retired. That was enough.
So, what do you consider to be your most important contribution from your service?
Just the service to the country. I mean, you know, I could have been done something else, you know, like I could have been a pilot. I could have been something, a hero. I wasn't, that's all. Just plain old GI.
Did you regret not doing something like that, or?
No, I enjoyed my life completely. It was great.
So then, what are some of the life lessons that you feel you've taken away from your time in the military?
Well, when I was, like I say, I joined when I was 17, and I was thought I was a tough guy, you know. Well, they proved that right away that I wasn't. And then there were rules, of course, to be followed, and I thought I didn't have to do those. And there were people that, again, took hold of me. And one master sergeant caught me. He says, "Did you shave today?" I said, "No, sir, I don't have to shave," because I'm blonde, could not even see it. He says, "Go in your barracks and get your razor, those old Gillette razors." And I went and got it, brought it back. He says, "Okay, now shave." And I had to shave. That's something I learned. I was very humble with this guy after that. It's a dry shave and it hurts.
Oh,
But he turned into one of my best friends,
wow.
surprisingly.
So then, would you recommend the military to someone else now?
Yeah, yes. As a matter of fact, I tried to talk both of my boys into it. I really worked hard at that, and then they didn't. Neither one of them wanted any part of it. Now, I agree with the gentleman before me that I don't know about now. You know, I don't know about these people that are running things now, but if it was like it was when I was in, I would wholly recommend it. It was a good way to live, a good way to find out things. They teach you discipline, which is very important. To follow orders if you have some. They humble. I was humble, humbled by people. I was very careful. Yeah, you grew up is what you did. You actually grew up. You go in a child and come out a pretty good guy, I guess.
All right, so is there anything else before we wrap up that you want to share with us?
No, I can't think of anything right now.
Okay, then. In closing, this has been an interview of Jim Dresdow regarding his service during the Korean War era. Thank you for agreeing to this interview, and most importantly,
Thank you.
thank you for your service.
Thank you much.